that's what kind of made me think about it. Maybe I need to open the door a little bit because that little tiny bit.
Your cars are probably overly sensitive and you can't feel where it's at, where you just want that little bit more steering through. It's mostly like the safety factor.
It's coming down that hill.
Yeah.
Hey Tom, when you say you put in a lot of negative or positive EXP, does that mean 20%, 40%? What does that mean to you quantitatively?
I think right now my car had 20%. So it's basically negative 20, so the curve is instead of linear, it's got a little.
It's good if you got the shape.
Yeah, every radio is different though, so be careful. Like on the top of one click is a lot, right? On Airtronics, you can do more clicks and maybe the spectrum would see the difference.
Now Frank just said to me, he's like, really, you run that much? And it's like, if I was racing a lot, I could probably run less, but I'm not racing a ton, right? I went and ran 2 weeks ago, a week after the reading, and I ran reading, but before that, I probably ran two before that, you know, just not running a lot. So I kind of use my expo as kind of a, call it a handicap, you know, just to kind of make it, a little bit of a crutch to make it easier, a little bit easier for me. And then as the more I run, the more I get in tune with it, I'll pull it back and off.
So if Bill was to go more positive expo on the steering, then he wouldn't feel like he's got to throw the steering wheel all the way.
No, it just makes it way more numb initially.
In the middle. You gotta be careful, you gotta be like,
Yeah, but you'll get that percentage back.
Yeah, it comes though.
That's what I don't like.
Yeah, that's what I like about Expo too. For me, it's like, it's dead and then all of a sudden there's a lot, right? Because you're
It
getting
has to
the
come
curve
back in
and-
at some point.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
still, you're going from 1 to 100.
That's,
And the first 20%, you're only getting 10 out of it. So the next 80%, you're getting 90 out of it, right? It's gonna make it back.
turn my grade.
But every driver's a little different, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it feels comfortable for you to be able to, off center.
Yeah,
like,
like something like
But it's just another tool, right, that we all have to.
I've used throttle expo. It's like you don't have to worry about it here, but you go like looser outdoor tracks where you're like just trying to go in a straight line. I mean, that generally tends to help because you're not at full throttle unless you're on the straightaway or something. But
I can see that.
What about, I don't want to get into anything proprietary, but, like, I've seen some weird stuff like belt drive transmissions, and I've even seen direct drive. And so there's been major changes in the hobby. And speaking of, like off-road cars getting closer to on-road cars, do you foresee any major changes in the transmissions? I mean, is it even possible to take another gear out, or is it? Or do you need those 2 gears in there?
But I think right now what we found is you really want the rotation of the motor to be the direction of 3 gear, and you definitely want to be mid-motor. So you kind of put those two things together. You can't go to a single gear, right? You have to have at least 2. So you'd have to go back, basically, if you went to 2 gears, you'd have to go back to the motor rotation of a 4-gear training, which hasn't been as good at most circumstances. But the problem that you run into is just the size of the gear and the size of the motor. Like, actually get the ratio correct and to not have those things overlap. I don't know if that would be possible for 2 gears.
You'd have to put a bigger gear,
Yeah,
probably
belt
bigger,
between them
or a bigger diff gear, and then you'd end up with a triple X4 problem.
Yeah, because like on the lay down training that we ran at the Worlds and some other cars are coming out with that are 3 gear, we're making freaking idler gears that are like the size of a diff gear. Because that's how big the gear has to be for the motor to be where you want it, for the diff to be where you want it. So, I mean, I think 3 gear, I think mid-motor was the big revolution, right? And then kind of the motor placement option, like for carpet or Astro Track, of having kind of that forward motor, that's, I don't foresee anything else directly on the future that's really going to get crazy there. I'm not saying it's not.
All that stuff involved. It's like, as soon as we start running mid-motor on dirt, you think, oh, we can have mid-motor for dirt and carpet. But it's like this whole evolution. It's like rear motor and mid-motor. Well, then, no, now it's mid-motor and then further forward mid-motor.
Yeah.
It's just,
What'll be next, self-driving?
yeah,
Help me out with that.
I don't really know where but, I mean, we never would have imagined we'd be running stuff we are right now 5-6 years ago. So
We developed, well, not even that long ago. I mean, the 22 2.0 was developed as a rear motor buggy that could be converted to mid motor. Did all of our testing rear motor, and by the time it released, it pretty much had gone mid motor overnight. So.
Dan Euros.
Honestly, what did it was the Worlds and Nationals water to AMATE. And it forced everybody to run the stuff for the months leading up to that, which I think in the end ended up being good for the hobby, bad for us just based on when we released our car, but good for the hobby because it made people start to develop these mid-motor cars. The cars are as good as they are today because we spent the time running them and figured all this stuff out.
Sorry, you got associated on the A-scale side.
What's that?
You got associated on the A-scale side for release date.
Can you guys talk about weight balance in the car? Because, I mean, these cars are flying through the air, right? So, I mean, there's some implications there.
Are you talking weight ballast or just
Balance in the car, right?
Like
Front to back, left,
percentage-
right.
Yeah.
front to
I mean,
rear.
do you guys even consider that? I mean,
Absolutely. And that was, we put our cars on the scales a lot when we were developing the 3.0. Like our car can run basically like 36 front, 64 rear, the battery all the way back and no brass in the car. That's about where we're running rear motor cars, believe it or not. So that's kind of been like the happy spot for lower grip indoor tracks, even outdoor tracks that are lower grip. Higher grip tracks like this, OCRC and stuff, we've been moving the battery forward. And we've actually been running about 62 and a half. So 37 and a half, 62 and a half, which is actually where the 22 2.0 was with all that brass weight in it. The difference is our car's like 1530, 1540 now, where our 2.0 had to be like 1640 to get that kind of weight bias because of all the brass and stuff we're at.
And when it goes like, some people don't realize, they think like you move the motor position, like you can get the same weight bias, but like that position of the motor, you like, where that thing's rotating at is what really makes a difference. It's like on carpet, we run that motor so far forward, the closer you get to the center of the car, the less effect it has on. So on carpet, you're trying to make the car flat. On dirt, you're trying to get,
yeah, I mean, motors are heavy, right? So, in the car.
it's just, a lot of it's the,
But where you would run it in mod, may be different than where you would run it 17.5 because the gears are bigger, right?
Yeah.
They're smaller, they're in different positions, so.
Funny story is, I actually ran stock last Friday, and my setup for Reedy Race on my mod car was perfect in stock. Couldn't think of anything else to change. I mean, I had to run a smaller spur here. I think I ran like a 69 tooth and a 29 pinion, and the motor location was maybe a tooth different. I mean, it was really close. So you're trading pinion spur size, you're just kind of trading up and down and keep the motor where it's at.
So it won't move that much.
No, not too much. Not if you have the right spurs available.
So I think also though, you can use kind of weight to kind of calm the car down too, right? You can say the car starts to get really erratic over the weekend. I've had experience where the grip comes up really high, you just start weighting down the car. It doesn't matter. Maybe for stock it makes a difference, so where you don't want that extra weight because you're trying to clear the triple. But modified, just weight, put a bunch of weight in the car just to make it easier to drive because the car is just not so tippy and stuff.
Did you change? You changed to a brick pack at Reedy Race, right?
I tried it, I did it for a little bit. I mean, I actually liked it, but then I went back to the shoulder pad.
Yeah, like truck, for whatever reason, we always end up running the brick pack, square pack,
Is that
saddle
heavier?
packs, whatever you want to call
Is
it.
that heavier?
Yeah, it always just calms the truck down. I think it's just the ratio, wheelbase ratio, like width versus length. And trucks always drive a little more aggressive with wider front tire, etc. But
What do you think about using a smaller battery to achieve a lighter car or stock, rather than trying to go a ton of titanium, coming in with a battery, a smaller 2-cell, which you drop in like 40, 50 grams just off a battery rather than.
I think as long as you have the same voltage and power out of the battery, golden.
But that's the thing, the lower the capacity, the worse the voltage is in the battery. So your voltage curve is going to be the same, whether your battery's a 2200 milliamp or a 6000, but it's stretched out over a longer period of time. Well, no matter whether you're running a 6000 battery or a 22 milliamp battery, your race is still ending at the same point. So you're just going to be higher in your curve at the end of the race if you're running a higher capacity battery. Some of the guys I know that get really competitive in stock, they're trying to get their cars so light that they can run a brick pack because they get more voltage out of it. So I would say if you could run a standard shorty pack with, a slipper eliminator or some titanium in the car and get to minimum weight, you're probably better off.
But the difference was night and day. I just swapped out a battery and boom, on a minimum weight, I have to put in a couple of shekels to get it out.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to feed it down with like $1 million worth of battery. Just I mean, I don't know if it's experimenting.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing is about this place with 17.5, it's not like power, yeah, you guys all want it, but here it's not like a must have.
Well, there's no straightaway, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
it's
use
not
it.
like when you're talking like 17.5, OCRC is 150 foot straightaway.
Yeah, you choke.
Like these guys are just everything they can for just a little bit of extra speed.
Because they still want a big battery.
Big difference. Yeah.
Is that
But here it's like for you, like 17.5 here, like
Make it light.
yeah, I mean it's the power issue is not.
It feels so much better light.
Yeah.
I put a full short here. This is the car case, so
Well, for spec racing, I mean, my first goal would be get parts to get my car down to 1,500 and then kind of tune from there. I mean, you can't be pulling dead weight because you're going to get no power, right? Your motor's going to run hotter, it's going to get more tired, you got more weight to slow down and accelerate. So, yeah, just trying to get to that 1499 or 1502 or whatever, close to medium weight. But yeah, I wouldn't run. I definitely, like, even in truck, I wouldn't run a brick crack in 17.5 truck. You know, I was kind of referencing that directly in mind.
How much, you guys play around with the track?
So, I mean, I guess when I first
no drag braking there.
I basically have the speed controller settings that I'm comfortable with, and I almost never change anything because knowing how much throttle I'm going to get for how much trigger and having that consistency from run to run, track to track is what makes me feel the most comfortable. I run 12% drag brake on my R10, and I've run the same thing since we got those Speedos 5 years ago. I have a different in each, so 2 wheels, 10, I run 8 in short course, 8 in truck, and 5 in 4 wheel. And I run, I think, 7 or 8 in 4 short course.
You running drag brake?
Yeah, 2-wheel I run 12%. 4-wheel, like our old 4-wheel, that's a rough thing. But the Triple X4 I did, I ran no drag brake on 4-wheel.
Your car had a drag brake going into it.
But also it's always like so aggressive, I felt like just having no drag brake kind of like. And then with 4-wheel, we all run 4-wheel brakes, so it's just like 2-wheel, you have to be able to be a lot more sensitive on the brake, and having a little bit of drag brake's good because you can't just stab it with the 4-wheel.
Yeah.
Stab this and go down long.
You would use a little drag brake for a stop.
Yeah, my Nate runs the same speedo settings that I have in my mod car and a stock car. I think his punch just turned the drag brake, all that stuff's the same.
I think the key with drag brake is like on a regular track, there should be only usually like 1 or 2 spots where you want to use push brake to kind of make the car rotate. And here you have the grip that the front end does the work, and you don't really have to do that a lot. But on a regular track, you have to those 2 or 3 spots. You want to have your drag brake tuned so that you don't need to use the push brake anywhere else on the track. Like if you go out there and you find yourself using a little push brake in every turn, then you don't have enough drag brake in your car. It's just not getting to the right speed for the way that you're driving, for the way that you're comfortable. So that's kind of how I got to 12%. And it seems like it's right for the way I drive. I'm used to it. I know my throttle points basically.
Those things, yeah, it's just like, whoever runs your speedo, that's even driver, just on gas. I got the speedos, like Joe Pillar was their Ryan team manager. I'm like, what do people run? He's like 12%. So I put 12% in and I just go right. That's how I got to where I'm at.
Well, with him just starting, in the beginning, I had it cranked up just because it was like the safety, right?
Yeah.
Off, it would slow down
Yeah.
quicker. And now I did that. Now,
Yeah, no, that's
we're down
good.
to like 15%. We're starting at 40, right?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Racing 17 5?
Short.
Short course,
Short course, yeah, short course.
13.5 short course here.
Let me ask you a question. There's a lot of, great fast drivers that, we saw at the meeting and all that type of stuff. For an average driver or an improving driver, what's the best way to practice or kind of gain improvement when?
Okay, so there's not race days. Like if you come on a practice day, I think the most important thing is to run good practice. If you're out here and you're running ball tires and you're kind of like just trying not to spin out, or if there's 30 short courses on the track, or if you're so tired you can't keep your eyes open, or your shocks really need to be rebuilt, but you're like, I'll just do it tomorrow. That practice isn't good practice. You're out here, but you're not really moving yourself forward unless you're just starting, right? Once you're starting to get into it. I always, like, my recommendation is good practice. When you get to a race like this weekend, I mean, Dustin probably, I mean, he has laps on the track, he knows what setup works for him. He's probably not going to touch it this weekend, and that's going to allow him to focus on his driving. And when I was going really good and going to a lot of races, when I'd show up at a race, other than maybe some oil for temperature changes, I'd be comfortable with my car. I wouldn't change it all weekend, and I would just focus on driving. I basically turned the side of my brain that's thinking, oh, my car could use a little more steering here, because that just distracts you from driving to your potential. So that's kind of like, I would try and split those. So when you come on a club night, you know, maybe 1 or 2 practice runs before racing starts, no more changes. Just go to however the best your car was, focus on your driving, get into racing, just focus on your driving. But practice days, feel free to try stuff, but make sure that you're doing quality practice and not just spending time on the track.
I think that's like, in race, there's no substitute for racing. Racing is the best practice you can get. Like, that's how I got to where I am. It's just club racing 2-3 nights a week and stuff like that.
What you're saying is no changes on race night.
And that's the thing too.
If your car's good, like, I mean, if you go on the end of the straightaway and your car flips over every lap, you want to address it. But I mean, if your car's relatively close and you can be competitive by just not making mistakes and hitting your marks, then yeah, focus on driving. So many people, like, they're always thinking about the car and how the car could be better, and they'll crash 3 times in the last run. It's like, well, that's like half the equation, right? Or more, right? Is how you're driving. So if you spend all your time working on the car and never any time like really focusing down on driving, you're not going to improve on it.
Yeah, I mean, I was coming up, I didn't know much about setup, but I just put on when people were running and I just go driving. And you'll find out a lot. I mean, there's been some really good people that coming up, I mean, they'll have some crazy, bizarre stuff that you see their car, just stuff really screwed up.
I always thought
Finn's a perfect example. Like, I mean,
He's good now.
He won the Nationals in Florida in mod truck, and his steering, like, he was getting like half throw one way, full throw the other way. It was like binding, and he just won.
I'll never forget this.
Like, you see something like, sometimes the less you know, the better. Like, when it comes into that race thing, like, he's not thinking about that. He's just making it happen.
Racing.
I'll never forget the story at SoCal once. Cavalieri had beaten Kendall like 4 club nights in a row, and this is when he was coming up. They were both running low seat, and Kendall was getting frustrated. Like, he's like, man, why is he beating me? He's staring at Cav's car and kind of looking it over and staring. And all of a sudden, he realizes that the rear shocks are in 2 different holes on the tower on each side. He just pushes the car out of the way, and Cavalieri is just driving better than him. I mean, that's what it came down to. So.
That's the thing, you can have it in your mind of like, hey, I need to change this, I need to work on this, I need to work on that. Just go out there and drive. Just get in that zone to where, like Dustin's saying, well, I don't know really where I let off at the end of the straightaway, because he's in the zone, he's just there, you know, it's like, it's just so important to just get to that point, get all the crap out of your head, and just
That's why
be one with the car, honestly, it kind of sounds kind of goofy, but you're just one with the car, you know, nothing affects you.
But that's why these track walks are so important, right? Because you can share setup sheets all day long, right? And you can put the setup on the car. But if you don't know how to traverse the track, right, it's almost irrelevant what setup you have on your car. I mean, you obviously want to be in the ballpark, but like understanding, you know, it's why it's so relevant to the conversation. You're like, I don't know where I let off, but for a lot of people, it's really important, right? I mean, if you say let off, some people may let off at the TLR sign when you're really letting off at the bricks, right? So like that difference is kind of huge for people. I know it's hard to do it when you're racing because it's like you're focused on hitting your lines and stuff.
I'm just like, yeah, like if you catch yourself not hitting your marks at the end of the straightaway where you want to do, you probably need to let off earlier to the point where you can hit the line that you want or should be hitting. Because I catch myself, sometimes I'll drive in too deep and then you push wide, you hit the single line. Everything leads into the next next thing. All right, yeah, you got down the straightaway, you got to that section faster, but I mean, we're trying to add everything together.
So Dustin told me to start with my power, right? Like my EPA for throttle is 92%. The track's a little smaller, you don't need to go crazy fast, right? And I was overdriving the end of the straightaway, and like just my driving style, I have a hard time letting off early. He does it. So I just clicked my radio down 89%, and now I'm driving better because I'm just going in there a little smoother, a little slower, and you know, but I'm conscious of that because I watch him. That's another thing. When you're waiting for your battery to charge or your tires to sauce or whatever, just come out and watch Dustin drive, or Cody, or Nick, or myself. I mean, somebody that's going quicker than you, they'll show you the lines around the track. You know what they're trying to do, and you can tell when they hit it right. So, like, I did that first 2 packs I ran. I was struggling with this tabletop a little bit. Dustin, when are you running? Oh, I'm actually going up in a couple minutes. I went up on the driver's stand and watched him run for 5 minutes. And then I came back and I kind of knew where to hit the jump. And the next pack went a lot better.
Yeah, a lot of times you can video people as they're, I mean, nowadays everybody's got a smartphone, so, you know, video, you know, somebody going around the track for a couple laps and, you know, go back and study it because there's a lot there that, you know, you could be missing.
What do they call it?
Smartphone.
Visualization?
Video, sure. Phil, that was dismissive.
Dumb question. I kind of might have figured out the ball stud washers on the shock tower, but how, now moving to the hub, is it about the same as the shock tower adjustment, or is it completely different?
Well, we kind of have, it's a little different, but it's kind of the same. Which isn't a very clear answer. There's 2 things with the camber link, right? You have basically, as far as the angle goes, you have the angle, right? So you have how much the tire kind of gains camber as the suspension compresses, and then you have the height that is above the arm. So the higher that it is above the arm, like if you keep the same angle but the whole link is higher, then the car's going to roll more. Where if the link's flatter or lower, it's going to roll less. So if you take a millimeter out on the hub, right, to kind of flatten the link, that's actually going to roll. I mean, it's going to stabilize the car a little bit more than if you add a millimeter on the inside. But you're kind of splitting hairs. I mean, it's really close. Like it takes, you got to be pretty tuned in to just say, like, add a millimeter inside and outside on the camber link and go out and feel that. I mean, it makes a difference, but you got to be really kind of locked in to feel that. We change, I would say, me personally, I change it on the hub a little bit more in the rear. In the front, I never change it on the caster block. I always change it on the inside. So,
Because my car gets to the point where it's all on now. It's
yeah,
all my fault, but.
that's usually what I'm saying. I was saying that Monday after Reedy race. So.
But you change it on, just repeat the change it on the hub. Which hub was it again?
So me personally, I find myself tuning the height on the rear hub more than I tune it on the inside on the rear. And then in the front, I actually usually tune it on the inside and not outside.
On the
Sorry,
shock.
I had to repeat
Yeah.
myself.
On the shock tower.
Yeah, ours aren't on the shock tower.
We're a camera block.
Yeah, rear camber block.
So I just have I have a question, just personal question more than anything else. How'd it feel to be one of those people in the A main and Reedy race?
Do you know what? It was funny because Scotty's announcing the mains, and I'm like, he starts announcing, he's like, the veteran. And I'm like, wow, when did I become the veteran? And it was crazy because I think the 4-wheel main, it was me, Jake, Jake there, who's like a year younger. I'm 33, I think he's 32. And Brent Thelke, who's 39, I think. Right, we're in the main. I don't think anybody else in the driver's stand was old enough to drink beer.
No. I think they said going into the mains, the oldest was 17.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's like the perfect, that's one of the things that's really fun about Reedy is that I get the chance to go out and compete with people around my skill level. I don't have to worry about him and the other 29 guys in the invite. But that also, it's just such a good opportunity for the young guys that are coming up to get to race in the main and really compete against each other and build their confidence. So, yeah, I mean, my expectations now for racing are just different. You know, I ran at OCRC 2 days, probably 5 or 6 months before Reedy race. And that's my local track. Like I have 2 kids under the age of 4, so I don't get to the track often just for recreational purposes, usually just to test. So, you know, my goal going into the race was to make the main, and I made one, and I was thrilled.
Sweet. But how did it feel?
Young.
Being the old man.
Wasn't the low pressure, but.
Exactly. I wasn't the oldest. If I was the oldest, it might have felt bad. No, it's cool because the guys that are the young kids, like,
I'm only joking.
they've been around.
I get spanked by 13-year-olds every day.
It is funny because me and Alex K, he won 4-wheel. Every time we walk by each other, we just look, hey, fast guy. Hey, fast. He called me fast guy. I called him fast guy. So
But all those kids have been to, like, all those kids have been racing a long time. Gone to, like, even the open class, no one goes to, no matter how good you get at your local track, how good you think you are. It happens to everyone. It happened to me. You go out of town and you think you're gonna be all fast, and you just get handed to you. I was there.
So
I mean, there's
you
just
Cam
no-
Newton it, basically?
What?
You Cam Newton it, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
there you go. There's the problem.
Yeah.
There's a process. It's just, I mean, nothing happens overnight. It takes going to the races. Like I said, all those kids, they've been to that race many times, been in the B, C, D, E main, and it kind of like each year you go, you know more.
Nothing worse than the H.
I've been the U.
You?
I've been the U main.
Oh my, that hurts.
98 Nationals went down to double mains.
Oh my.
That's when it was double A, double B, double C. Because it went to Z and then double A, double B, double C.
And then you.
Yeah, you're up. You main, you're up. Yeah, great. So, again, can we give the TLR guys a big round of applause here, guys? I really do appreciate you guys coming out. Make sure you thank your wives. Hopefully you guys have already set up flowers to be sent on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Yeah?
Oh, that's a funny one.
Yeah.
Stupid rumble every couple of years.
You've been married how long now?
This is 6 years this year.
Oh. Yeah, you almost know better now, so.
It just
My
doesn't
tenure
get
comes
easy.
up, I know better.
That's the problem. Racing RC.
I still don't do it right, but I know better.
My wife's like, so what are you doing there? I'm like, I'm racing. Why? Stop.
As I want to.
Because I can.
All right. We open up tomorrow noon, guys, so
Control practice all
enjoy
day.
and control practice basically all day, yep.
5
Just,
minutes. You gotta turn it down.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it down to 5 minutes.
Last thing, we're gonna be here all weekend, and me and Todd here, I mean, we're really here to support and help more than the race ourselves. So if you guys have any questions, I mean, we're fitted right here in front of the Rumble in the Rockies door.